Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you're doing fine. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to make small talk. Now, knowing how to small talk is a good basic skill to know in quite a few situations in life. And in addition, we have in our curriculum a competence aim that says that you are supposed to innlede, holde I gang og avslutte samtaler og diskusjoner om allmenne emner og faglige emner knyttet til eget utdanningsprogram. In addition, learning how to make small talk will improve your oral skills because you will be given a few useful words and phrases. Now, first of all, what is small talk? Well, small talk is the term used for the light conversation we have with people we're meeting for the first time, or perhaps know only superficially. Small talk can even be used between good friends when they meet, and the purpose is not really to give or receive information, but simply to put each other at ease, to prevent awkwardness, and sometimes lay the foundation for further conversation. Now, in some situations, your small talk can be informal, for example, when you meet a friend, while in other situations you would require a more formal choice of words and phrases, for example, in a job interview or at a business meeting. Small talk also differs from country to country in the English-speaking worlds, but in the examples that we're going to look at, we will be focusing mainly on American and British English. Tara M. Clapper says this about the purpose of small talk. Small talk is conversation, typically about inane topics such as the weather or local sports, shared usually between two people. Small talk may occur to avoid awkwardness between two strangers, such as on a long elevator ride. People may also engage in small talk if they do not know each other well, because small talk allows safe and comfortable conversation topics as opposed to more controversial ones such as politics and religion. And here comes an important part. The act of making small talk when a person encounters a business associate, classmate, or acquaintance is considered polite. The first step of making small talk is obviously when you meet and greet, and you're now going to see a few examples on how you can meet and greet people. The first example is when two people who know each other meet. You can say, "Hi, how are you?" And you can reply, "I'm fine, thanks. How are you?" If you meet somebody that you haven't met before, you can say, "Hello, I'm John Smith. Nice to meet you." "Hello, nice to meet you too. I'm Helen Starr." If you want to introduce somebody to a friend or an acquaintance, you can say, for example, "Hi, John. Good to see you. This is my friend Irene." "Hi, Irene. I'm John. Nice to meet you." "Hello, John. Nice to meet you too." As I mentioned, there is certain differences between being formal and informal when small talking. And I'm now going to show you some examples of formal and informal greetings. Let's begin with the informal ones. These you can use when you meet your friends or people that you know fairly well, or if you're in a very informal situation. You can, for example, say hi, hello, hey, how are you? How's it going? How are you doing? What's up? Replies to this can be, "I'm fine, thanks, not so bad, great, and you and yourself, how about you?" More formal greetings, for example, if you're at a business meeting or a work seminar, you could say when you meet somebody, "How do you do? Pleased to meet you." And this is usually accompanied by a handshake and a smile. If you want to introduce somebody in a more formal way, you can say, "May I introduce?" or "I'd like you to meet," and then the person's full name. Replies to this can be, for example, "Delighted to meet you," or you can just simply use "Nice to meet you." If you pass someone and you don't really want to stop and engage in a conversation, but you just want to be polite, you can say good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or you can use the more informal terms morning, afternoon, evening, and all of this depending on what time of day it is, obviously. You can use this when you pass someone on the street, or at work, at school, at your hotel, in a restaurant, in a shop, in an elevator, etc., etc. Okay, so now you've met, you've greeted, and now comes step 2, which is the main conversation. And this conversation can be fairly long or fairly short depending on the situation. The most important thing in the main conversation is obviously finding something to talk about. Now, when you know the person you're talking to, this is fairly easy. You can talk about things you have in common. You could talk about school or work, interests, mutual friends, acquaintances, things you've seen and done since the last time you spoke to each other, etc., etc. In a more formal setting, finding things to talk about can be a bit more challenging. Try and see if you have some common grounds that you can talk about. For example, if you're at a business meeting, is there anything that you can talk about that you have in common from that one? If you're at a seminar, can you talk about things that you've learned? Is there a sports arrangement going on somewhere that you can talk about, etc., etc.? If you can't find any topics to talk about, the English and the British, and the American, just like the Norwegians, they like talking about the weather. So you can't go wrong if you begin talking about the weather. Topics like religion and politics are usually avoided. Try and find some safe and comfortable topics that you think both of you can talk about. Okay, so step 3, parting or breaking up the conversation. Now, there are many ways that you can break up a conversation. You can use your body language, make eye contact, use words like well, and so on. And here are a few more phrases that you can use when you want to break up the conversation. You can say, for example, well then, it's time to make a move. Or, anyway, nice talking to you. All right, well, I best be on my way. Maybe I have a train to catch or something. Well, I suppose I'd better be off. If you want to be a bit more formal, you can say, very nice meeting you. I'd better see if, and then use some polite excuse to signal that you're moving on. For example, I'd better go and see if my wife needs me. Or you can also say, very nice to meet you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I should, and then again some polite excuse. I should better talk to this or that, or I'd better mingle, or things like that. Now, you've established that the small talk is over and you're parting for real, and you can use terms like bye, all the best, have fun, see ya, take care. Or if you want to be a bit more formal, you can just say goodbye. Okay, so what have you learned about small talk? Well, you've learned what small talk is. You've learned how you can meet and greet. You've learned about what you can talk about in the main conversation. And you've also learned some useful words and phrases when parting. So useful words and phrases, that's something that goes through this entire lesson that you can hopefully use when practicing small talk on your own. Well, not on your own really, but when you meet somebody and you want to engage in a small talk. A final additional piece of advice. In Norway, we are not usually very good at saying tusen takk or vær så snill, but remember to use please and thank you. Not only when small talking, but in general when you speak English. Otherwise, you will be perceived as rude and impolite. So, I'd like a cup of coffee, please. Can I have the menu, please? Thanks. Thank you. Okay. The sources I've used for this lesson is Richard Burgess and Teresa Sørhus's Access to English, and also Tara Clapper's article about small talk. It was very nice talking to you, and I hope I'll see you soon again. But before we round up, I hope also that you will have a look at this cartoon that I found that tells you how you should not reply if somebody wants to make small talk. Bye!